Picture this, it's 1896, Athens. The very first modern Olympic Games are kicking off, and it's less of a finely tuned international spectacle and more like a chaotic family reunion where nobody knows the rules. The organizers, bless their hearts, were basically winging it. They sent out invitations so late that many countries just didn't show up. America, however, wasn't going to miss this party. A small team of college athletes from Harvard and Princeton, mostly track and field guys, heard about it, raised their own money, and hopped on a boat. But here's the kicker. Greece was still using the Julian calendar, while the rest of the world was on the Gregorian. So when our American heroes arrived, thinking they had plenty of time to train and acclimate, they were told the games were starting the very next day. Jet lag wasn't even a word yet, but they were about to feel it. Imagine stepping off a 12-day sea voyage and immediately being thrown into the biggest competition of your life. Yet, despite the calendar confusion and travel fatigue, a Princeton student named Robert Garrett decided to enter the discus throw, an event he'd never even seen before. He'd read about discus in classical texts and tried to have one made back home. The blacksmith gave him a 16-pound metal monstrosity that was basically a cannonball. He couldn't throw it more than a few feet. So when he got to Athens and saw the real, sleek, 5-pound discus the Greeks were using, he probably felt like he'd been training with a boulder. On a whim, he entered the event anyway. The Greek champions, who had been practicing this ancient sport their whole lives, threw with elegance and grace. Then it was Garrett's turn. He wobbled, he spun awkwardly, and somehow, he launched the discus further than anyone else. The Greek crowd went from laughing at the clumsy American to stunned silence. He won. He went on to win the shot put to, becoming a double gold medalist by pure, unadulterated, accidental genius. Now let's fast forward to the 1904 Olympics in St. Louis. If the 1896 Games were a chaotic party, the 1904 Marathon was a full-blown fever dream. The race was held on a dusty, unpaved road in 90-degree heat. There was only one water station on the entire 25-mile course. Organizers did this on purpose, wanting to test the limits of purposeful dehydration. Yeah, you heard that right. It was less of a race and more of a science experiment gone horribly wrong. The first man to cross the finish line was an American named Fred Lors. The crowd went wild. He was about to be awarded the gold medal by Alice Roosevelt, the president's daughter, when someone shouted that he had cheated. And oh, did he cheat? After about 9 miles, Lors started cramping up. So he hitched a ride in his manager's car for the next 11 miles. The car then broke down, so he just got out and jogged the rest of the way to the finish line, waving at spectators like he was the hero of the day. When confronted, he claimed it was all just a big joke. He was banned for life, though they later lifted it because, I guess, his excuse was just too ridiculous to stay mad at. So who actually won? That honor went to Thomas Hicks, another American. But his victory was assisted. Hicks was struggling badly near the end. He was hallucinating, begging his trainers for water. Instead, they gave him a cocktail of strychnine, yes, literal rat poison mixed with egg whites and brandy. This was considered a performance enhancer back then, not a potential homicide. He stumbled across the finish line, carried by his trainers, and immediately collapsed. He had to be medically treated for hours and lost 8 pounds during the race. He won the gold, but almost died for it. And the stories from that marathon just get weirder. A Cuban postman named Felix Carvajal raised money to compete by running around his entire country. He gambled all his money away in New Orleans on his way to St. Louis and had to hitchhike the rest of the way. He showed up at the starting line in his street clothes, a long-sleeved shirt, trousers, and heavy walking shoes. Someone kindly took a pair of scissors and cut his pants into makeshift shorts. During the race, he got hungry, so he stopped in an orchard to snack on some apples. The apples turned out to be rotten, giving him terrible stomach cramps. He had to take a nap on the side of the road. Despite all this, he still managed to finish in 4th place. Meanwhile, 2 runners from South Africa, Lentau and Jan Mashiani, were chased a mile off course by a pack of aggressive dogs. Lentau still finished 9th. Another competitor, William Garcia, nearly died from internal bleeding after inhaling so much dust from the cars driving alongside the runners. He was found unconscious on the side of the road. Out of 32 starters, only 14 actually finished the race. It was such a disaster that the marathon event was almost permanently cancelled. Let's jump to the 1908 London Olympics for our next tale. The marathon finish was held inside the stadium. The first runner to enter was Dorando Petri of Italy. He was completely exhausted, disoriented, and running the wrong way. Officials redirected him, but he collapsed. He got up, fell again, and again. It was painful to watch. He was clearly in no state to continue, worried he might not make it. To officials, including the famous author Arthur Conan Doyle, who was there as a journalist, helped him to his feet and practically carried him across the finish line. He was declared the winner, but the American team, whose runner came in second, immediately protested. The rules clearly stated that no runner could receive assistance. After a long deliberation, Petrie was disqualified. The poor guy lost his gold medal, but the public was so moved by his struggle that Queen Alexandra presented him with a special gold-plated silver cup the next day. He became a massive celebrity overnight, more famous for his dramatic disqualification than the actual winner ever was. And finally, let's talk about the longest swimming event in Olympic history, the 1900 Paris Games. The swimming events weren't held in a pool. Oh no, that would be too simple. They were held in the River Seine, the same river that, at the time, was Paris's main sewer. Swimmers had to navigate a strong current, debris, and, well, you can imagine. One event was a 200-meter obstacle course, where competitors had to climb over a pole, scramble over a row of boats, and then swim under another row of boats. It was more like a water-based wipeout than a serious athletic competition. The Australian swimmer, Frederick Lane, won, probably because he was the best at dodging floating garbage. These early Olympics were a beautiful, chaotic mess of ambition, confusion, and unbelievable stories. They were a far cry from the polished, professional events we see today, but in a way, that's what makes them so special. They remind us that behind every great tradition is a history of trial and error, of people just trying their best with what they had, and creating some hilarious, unforgettable moments along the way. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this trip back in time, make sure to like and subscribe for more weird history.